It's our Sam's Club grocery haul. Some avocado, some mushrooms, olive oil, heavy whipping cream, Chihuahua cheese, Pellegrino. And this stuff ain't cheap when you buy in bulk. So I didn't really know how I was going to approach the whole histamine video. There were so many histamine videos out there, and there's so much literature on it. And it's like super overwhelming. And for almost 2 weeks now, every day at work, all I've been doing is putting in my AirPods and just listening to article and review and doctors talk and, scientists talk about stuff. And it's just been nonstop. And the one thing that I've heard come up over and over and over again is, do we really understand histamines like we think we do? What we do know is that there definitely is some type of histamine reaction. We don't completely understand it. We know that histamine is responsible for signaling stomach acid to increase or to start being produced. We also know that it's like a neurological chemical that sends different messages throughout the body, to the brain, stuff like that. We definitely know that it has an impact on our skin. They say there are 4 different locations where it affects you the most. I'm not going to get into them. The skin is a major one. The way you breathe and stuff is a major one. The way your heart functions, it can affect the arrhythmia and stuff of your heart. So it's like one of those things where it's hit or miss. Like, there's so much different information from different people. Nobody really clearly understands it point blank the way it should be done. Chris Masterjohn, PhD doc, was a phenomenal source of information. There were multiple sources of information, but what we do know is the older a food is, the more time it sits in the refrigerator, the more processed it is, the more we're adding histamine into our body. Each one of us have a different threshold of histamine. Each person's bucket, as Chris Masterjohn says, is different depths. Some people can handle more histamine than others, and some people really can't handle very much histamine at all. There is something in the body that helps break it down, deplete it, and get it out of the body, and that's something called DAO. DAO you can take in supplement form, or you can take things to increase your DAO production to help break down histamine so you don't have so much of a reaction. Histamine release in the body is basically a release to stress or inflammatory conditions in general. It's responsible for signaling white blood cells to start attacking and ridding bacteria and stuff from the body, foreign invaders that aren't supposed to be there. But when we're eating histamine from our food sources as well as letting our body do it naturally, this becomes a problem. Some of our buckets fill up way too fast, and the reaction has to show somewhere. If you eat a low histamine diet and you're very allergic to certain types of conditions, pollen and stuff during certain seasons and stuff like that, all of a sudden it doesn't affect you as much anymore or at all. You almost see the pollen or that type of year or season or condition is not bothering you anymore. But once you start going back to the highly processed aged foods, the vinegar type foods, the pickles, the aged cheeses, the aged meats, things like that, the highly processed meats, avocados, sardines, things like this, then you start noticing that a lot of those conditions come back. They start making you react to certain things in an extreme form or like a multiplied form. So anything that's been aged, anything that sits in the refrigerator for days on end that has been cooked, many different types of foods can make a histamine reaction come forward. It's not just meat. It's in vegetables. It's in fruits. There's tons of ways that you simply have to engage yourself from an individual standpoint and figure out what affects you. So over the last week, I've been doing lots of very pure ground sausages with different types of cheese, and I just wanted to see how they would affect me, because processed meats like that, even though they're clean and don't have a lot of junk in them, while you can cook them fresh, you may not have much of a reaction to it. But when they sit in the refrigerator for several days, I noticed that after the second and third day, I started to get these little pimples on my neck. I had 2 on my face, I had a couple on my neck down here, and then I was sneezing throughout the day. I was like, wait a second, that didn't happen on day 1, but why is it happening on day like 3 and 4? It was a histamine reaction. The longer that processed meat that was cooked sat in the refrigerator, even though it didn't have any junk in it, it was causing me to react. And then I thought, you know what? Let me go a couple days with just regular meat. I was just eating regular meat that was not processed and making it fresh and eating it that night, no leftovers. It's all starting to clear up. I'm only down to 1 little pimple left. And last night before I went to bed, I said, alcohol is a big contributor to histamines as well. So last night, I wanted to get loose a little bit. I wanted to see what would happen. And I just had some of those White Claws, a couple mango White Claws before I went to bed. And sure enough, when I woke up this morning, I was itching. I was sneezing at work and stuff like that. And I was one of those ones that thought, I don't have an intolerance to anything. But now that I'm actually paying attention to what foods cause what things, I'm starting to see that I'm becoming my own, critic. And I thought that I figured myself out. Little did I know that I still have a lot of work to do. Histamines are in pretty much everything. And everybody handles things completely different. So I went out to the store today with Angie, and we went to Sam's Club, and we done a bunch of fresh meat shopping. No ground up, processed this and that. It was just all slabs of meat that when it's cooked, it will be eaten right away. And we will portion it up in different sizes, and that's just how it's going to be. Because I noticed that the highly processed stuff I'm not doing very good with. So, anyway, my talk on histamine is probably not what some of you are looking for. But to break it down and be completely 100% honest with you, we don't understand histamines like we should. We don't understand exactly why histamine pops up in different foods like it does and the way that it does. There's a lot of things we still do not understand about it. I could not make a video and try to put a bunch of stuff together and claim that I knew more than what I'm telling you right now, because it wouldn't make much sense, because the very people that are educated, that are out there studying it, are clearly saying themselves, look, this is how we're seeing you can engage it. Your DAO may be low, so that's why your body's not breaking down histamine properly. You may have to increase your copper levels in your vitamin B6 to increase your DAO production. But if you're chronically producing histamine all the time because of your stressful life and your stressful situations in general, naturally inside your body, because it is a natural reaction, and then you're also eating foods that are high in histamines that have been sitting in the refrigerator for multiple days, you're never really going to get better. You can supplement all you want, but until you start actually reacting to the things that are stressful in your life and start approaching them accordingly and eating a low histamine diet for a while, or going to an elimination diet like carnivore, where it's just all animal meats and organs, and then starting to add things back in to see how you are affected by them, you're never going to know what affects you. You literally have to go on an elimination diet to figure out, are you okay with aged cheese? Because some people cannot eat aged cheese. They react immediately. Are you okay with alcohol? Are you getting rashes and acne and headaches, migraines and stuff all the time when it doesn't make any sense? But then all of a sudden you go on a low histamine diet, you cut out all the processed meats, you cut out all the aged foods, the vinegar-based foods, the things that sit in the fridge multiple days on end, and you go to fresh cuts of meat, and then all of a sudden, you're fine, you're not reacting to things anymore. You had a problem to begin with. Now you can start adding things back in to kind of pinpoint and hone in on what is the cause. I couldn't sit here and just continue go through a video and then say, well, this is what I found out, or this is what I'm not confident that anybody that I've watched over the last couple weeks actually has good, solid information on what they're actually talking about. Many, I would probably say more than 70% of them, actually admitted that we still don't even understand why the histamines in food react the way that they do. They almost mimic allergies. So if you eat a low histamine diet around allergy season and normally you're used to reacting to allergies, you might even find out those allergies don't affect you anymore because they mimic each other, and it's just way too much histamine at one time in the body, and the DAO can't break it down and get rid of it properly. So I hope this didn't let you down. I hope that you found this somewhat helpful. To be honest with you, you can try to find out all the information you want about histamine. None of it is actually very solid. None of it. You have to be your own critic and eliminate all the foods, get down to the bare minimum, and then start adding things back in to see exactly what affects you. That's the only way it's going to work. Okay, guys. Again, I wish this could have been better. Be blessed.